Welcome to the Undisputed podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Taft. This podcast is the full show from today's episode of Undisputed from start to finish. They've got a busy slate, so skip Shannon, let's get to it.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Undisputed Live from Los Angeles. I'm Jen Hale, here with Skip Bayless, Shannon Sharpe in Atlanta this week.
Aha.
Good morning, guys. What
Hi, how are you?
Roller coaster.
Yeah. Wait a second.
Good morning. All right.
Wait, are you wearing camouflage because you're in hiding? Is that what it is? We can see you.
No.
We can see you. It doesn't work.
Skip, I had planned to celebrate, so I had brought my best dinner jacket and bow tie. I was getting ready to celebrate, and lo and behold, I picked the outfit before they actually won the game.
Okay.
So here we are.
Well, I would like to pronounce the benediction on your prediction from yesterday, which was that it was going to be the benediction last night. I think we're just getting started, silly me. I don't know.
But
I think you said seven.
hold on, Skip.
I did.
But will you give me credit for this? I told you what was wrong with Kevin Durant's Achilles.
You did.
Long before anybody else. They kept saying it was his calf. It was his calf. I said, no, it's not.
I think I was saying that also, but we'll talk about that in just a minute.
You and I.
Okay, thank
Points
you.
We
I'll
should be
take
doctors.
that.
of you gentlemen early
you.
this morning. Well, let's get right into last night's thriller. The Warriors hovering on the brink of elimination. However, new hope since they had KD back for the first time in a month. KD knocked down 11 points in his return, but then early in the second quarter, he crumples to the floor after, injuring, to Shannon's point, that Achilles. KD forced to leave the court with help. Reports say he tore his Achilles. An MRI later today should reveal more. Back on the court, the Splash Brothers stepped up big in the fourth quarter. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson hit 3 huge trays in the final minutes to give the Warriors the lead. In the closing seconds, with Toronto down by 1, Kawhi Leonard was double-teamed and Kyle Lowry's potential game winner deflected. Golden State survived by 1 with Game 6 Thursday back at Oracle. So, Shannon, what happened last night?
Well, what happened is the Warriors are champions for a reason, and I think they showed incredible resolve. The biggest thing is that Kevin Durant, Skip, even though he only played about 11 or 12 minutes, I think what he did was he opened the court up, and he allowed Steph and Klay to find a rhythm early. And once you let those guys, because most great shooters are rhythm shooters, and if you let them get a rhythm early, it's hard to get them out of that rhythm late. And by Kevin Durant being on the court, he provided more space. So now all of a sudden you can't play that box and one defense that had been so successful a few games here and there. Now you have to worry about KD. I really didn't like the Raptors game plan. It was almost like, let's see what KD has. He hadn't played in a month. He's missed like 8-9 games. We don't really think he has much. You can't leave him open like you can, say, Draymond, like you can Iggy or a Kevon Looney. Do they realize what Kevin Durant represents? He told you like a month ago, I'm Kevin Durant. You guys know who I am, right? I think the Raptors forgot who he was. Skip, another thing, if you watch the way they played the game, when Draymond or those big set screens, they're not setting screens to roll to the basket. They're setting screens to let Klay and Steph get wide open threes. You must push up, push out on them. If you stay in the lane or if you hang out by the free throw line, they will swish the net. And they got going early. In the first 4 games, Skip, they were 10 of 35 in the first quarter shooting threes. Last night, they made their first 5. They went on to be 7 of 11. The Warriors feel good because they forced a Game 6. They're going back to Oracle. But I don't know if they should feel as great as they think they should because they hit 23s and they still only won the game by 1 point. But Kevin Durant, I think, Skip, played a bigger dividend what people would think his 12 minutes would indicate because what he did was open the court, let Steph and Klay find wide open jump shots early. They got that rhythm, and the Raptors was really never able to get them out of that. And even when Kawhi went on that 10-0 run by himself, I was like, wow, Kawhi's about to do this. He's about to have a Jordan. He's about to have a LeBron or even a KD run in an NBA Finals game to solidify himself amongst the all-time greats. But Steph and Klay says, no, no, no. The Raptors defense let them down because you know you cannot let those guys get off threes. Twos you can live with, but you can't let them get 3 threes, and they hit them all, and they won the game.
So I'm going to piggyback on everything you just said, and I'm going to go right to the bottom line of how I saw what happened last night. I saw the Raptors and their fans and all those people out there in the known NBA world who root for number 2 for reasons lost on me. All of those people celebrated prematurely, including you, the new leader of the number 2 fan club. It just felt like, it looked like, it seemed like Golden State had hit the wall with 3:28 left when he made his last basket, number 2.
It did.
And it felt like they had run completely out of gas and out of miracles. I was leaning in that direction. I tweeted about it. It looks like this is it for Golden State. And what happened right on schedule? Number 2 went as quiet as he gets to be off the court. And all of a sudden, down the stretch, number 2 takes 2 more shots. He took a fadeaway, fall-away jump shot and missed that. That could have put him up 8. And then he takes a 3-point shot with 1:10 left that could have given them the lead, and he missed that. So down the stretch, from 3:28 to the buzzer, number 2 takes 2 shots more and misses both those shots. And all of a sudden, Toronto and Raptor Nation and Shannon Sharpe got Steph'd and got Clayed and got shocked out of their gourd, because here they came, and it went Clay and then Steph and then Clay. And I told you yesterday this would be the Klay Thompson game, and I think it was, because he hit the shot of shots.
Yes.
He hit the game winner. He hit 7 big threes. And to Steph's credit, remember, I got it. I'm with you on this. Kevin Durant set a Willis Reed Memorial tone in this basketball game. For those who don't remember, it's back in the 1970 finals. It's just legend in New York City that Willis Reed hobbled out on what was a torn quad. I don't know if it was ruptured. I think it was just torn. And he had missed Game 6. This was Game 7 at Madison Square Garden. And he hobbled out and made his first 2 shots and hung on for about 20-odd minutes. But that set the tone for them to win the championship over the Lakers that year. In this case, Kevin did set an early tone. But remember, in the second half, Steph Curry just lost it. He went stone cold, and he had missed, he had made 1 of 8 threes in the second half until he made that one. And I'm going to make a case today that shot that Steph Curry hit, that tied the game, obviously. I think that was the biggest 3 he's ever hit in his career. And we were hard on him yesterday, and he deserved the criticism we gave him yesterday. But he showed up huge in the first half, and then he showed up huge when he made that 3 at the end, right?
Because you're absolutely right, Skip. And it could have been really, really deflating, because they knew when Kevin Durant went down, they knew it was serious. And you could see the momentum start to shift a little bit. But Clay and Steph, mainly Steph, says, nah, bro, we're not losing this one tonight. And he kept them ahead. Because you think of an injury of that significance, now they haven't, but they know what it was. They saw Kevin Durant, he grabbed his Achilles, he motioned like, come get me. But Steph he was unbelievable, Skip, in the first half. He really was.
Okay, but he wasn't unbelievable in the second half, and they were teetering and teetering.
No, he wasn't that great.
But the guy who was the rock last night, that's why I'm going to remember this as the Klay Thompson game. Klay Thompson scored 6 points in the first quarter and 6 points in the second quarter and 8 points in the third quarter and 6 big points in the fourth quarter. So he's rock for them. He kept on making shots. He was the difference maker to me. And again, they got a huge game from DeMarcus Cousins that I did not see coming. But obviously they lost Kevon Looney again. He's going to try to suck it up and get some more rehab and play in Game 6. But they lost him for the remainder of the game last night. So DeMarcus just had to play big, and he did. He made 6 of 8 shots. That's 14 points and 6 rebounds, so that was critical. But the big – go ahead.
Skip, if you don't mind me interrupting, Skip, they played Boogie Cousins out of necessity. They went to Looney. They went to Bogut first.
He was the
it
third
was
option.
only when Looney could not return
Right.
that they put Boogie Cousins in the game.
He saved their bacon when they were ready to just shelve him. He was going to get mothballed until next year, and all of a sudden they had no choice, and he played big. And maybe he played big because he didn't start. Maybe there are no expectations. Maybe he's better if you just throw him in cold and it's like, oh, I guess I got to play now. And he played.
Right.
But the incredible thing to me is that Golden State survived another basketball game by playing, by their standards, by their championship standards, a poor fundamental basketball game. They had 15 more turnovers. Every time I looked up, they were doing something incredibly stupid. What are you doing? And they had blunder after defensive assignment blunder, where they gave them easy baskets, layups, dunks. What are you doing? And
Skip, forget the previous 13 turnovers. What about the last two when Steph throws it back court, when Draymond steps back in the back court?
It's just terrible.
You would have thought you like Steph. After all you've been through in a Game 7 when you whipped it behind your back, out of bounds, here you are in a Game 5 and you do this?
Every pass he throws is very careless and hot doggy, and there are a lot of little, he just tosses them up in the air.
Razzle-dazzle to it.
Little razzle-dazzle, a little too cool for school. And it drives me a little crazy. Again, he came up big with that three, biggest three he's ever made. But to your point, with 37.5 seconds left, they're up 3 when Steph throws it a little behind Draymond and puts it, because Steph got a quick double team. And Draymond was in trouble, but then he shuffles his feet and just carelessly steps back across the half-court line. And all of a sudden, you give Toronto the ball back. I was like, what are you doing? That's a play that loses that closeout game on the road, usually.
Yes.
And then what happens?
Yes.
Our man, DeMarcus Cousins, for all the good things that he did, he moves on a screen. That's with 15.7 seconds left. They're up 1 point, and they're trying to get Steph open for another 3. And let's just say, hypothetically, if he gets off the pick cleanly and it's not moving, and he makes a 3, the game's over because they're going to be up 4 points.
Over.
Instead,
nope,
moving pick, offensive foul, and it's going the other way with 15.7 seconds left. And it's way too much time to give Toronto at home a shot to win the game down 1. So you have 2 massive blunders in the last 37 seconds left that gave Toronto new life and new life. And now let's talk briefly about the final play of the game. This is just me. After all the buildup for number 2, he is Jordan-esque. You just talked about, you thought he was going to have the Jordan conclusion. On the final play, to me, he has enough time to size up what is happening, because Iggy just roamed on the last play. He's got Lowry, but Lowry's running a baseline pick off Gasol to the far corner. So Iggy just says, well, I'm just going to go out there and double him. So he's coming up on the left, and obviously it would be to number 2's right, but to number 2's left is Clay. Well, to me, if you're Jordan-esque, you see this coming, you realize there's no clear-cut pass to make. Nobody's just wide open like we've seen LeBron, where you say, well, what's his name? Kyle Korver was wide open in the corner, or George Hill was wide open for a potential layup. Well, there was nobody clearly wide open. So Jordan-esque, if you're Jordan-esque, you just power hard to your left on Clay with the basketball. You dribble, get him into just inside the top of the circle, and then you just bounce him off the way you can bounce off anybody with your strength, and then just rise up and shoot the potential game winner. That's your game to win. It's on a platter. It's you. It's your quote-unquote house, your new house, which is about to be your old house.
Well, Skip, here's the thing. What happened is that Kyle Lowry, he ran himself into trouble, because Draymond was playing Marc Gasol. And so he ran, and so Draymond could easily come off Marc Gasol and contest Kyle Lowry. Once Iggy starts to cheat towards Kawhi Lowry should just go to the basket, like George Hill did.
Yeah, he was just running their play that they called in the huddle. He's running a baseline screen off Gasol to go to the far corner, and I assumed were they running that for him? It looked like it.
Right.
Okay.
Well, it looked like, Skip, what they would call a 1-4, what we saw with Denver ran against, not Denver, what Portland ran against Denver, because he felt if Kawhi and Nick Nurse thought, well, if we get the pick and roll, they're going to trap Kawhi and make him give up the ball. So let's put everybody down. Kawhi, you get the ball at the top. You go one-on-one, and then we'll live whatever decision you make at that time. If you get the pull-up jumper, take it. But if they come with the double team, Kawhi Leonard is smart enough to understand, let me find the open guy. But what happened is because Kyle Lowry and Marc Gasol was so close, it was so easy for Draymond to come off Marc and contest Kyle's shot. He ends up getting, I think, a piece of it, and the ball goes out of bounds, and they win the game 106-105.
He just got fingertips on it, and it went offline behind the backboard. But I think Draymond was actually on Gasol to begin with, and Iggy just let Lowry go, just let him run free.
Right.
So if you could have whipped it quickly around, he would have been open. Right.
Right.
And Draymond made a great defensive call because it's 3-2-1, and he just knew there wasn't time for Kyle Lowry to pass the ball to Gasol for some little bunny shot. So,
we get the luxury of hindsight, Skip. He should have pump faked him and jumped into him.
Yeah, I think it might have been after the buzzer. It'd be real close. Maybe. Yeah, that's the luxury of hindsight. I think you just feel like, we're 2-1. I got to just go and shoot this. So,
but you give the Warriors credit. Skip, I'm not letting Kawhi beat me. I'm not going to let Kawhi go. I know Clay is a tremendous one-on-one defender, but I don't want him in that situation against Kawhi. I'm going to get the ball out of his hands, and I'm going to live with anyone else beating me. Marc Gasol take a jumper. If Kyle Lowry, if Pascal Siakam, if Danny Green, Skip, if they take that shot, you got to live. Sometimes you have to be willing to live with a B, C, or D player taking the shot. I just can't let A beat me. I'm not letting Kawhi beat me. I'm not letting LeBron James or James Harden. You can't let those guys beat you. If your auxiliary guys, if they beat you with a last-second shot, Skip, you tip your hat and say, man, that was a hell of a series. Congratulations. But I refuse to let Kawhi beat me in that moment. And Steve Kerr, I don't know if they called it or Iggy just took it upon himself to say, I'm going to go trap him and get this ball out of his hands. That was a heck of a play.
Okay, 2 quick points. You put LeBron in the conversation. I'm going to remind everybody, Game 1 a year ago at Oracle in the finals, LeBron's got Steph on him with no double team, and all he has to do is rise up and shoot a 17-foot jump shot down 1 to win the game. Same situation as this. That was a pretty easy call to me, and he whips it to George Hill, who's never played in the finals before, and George Hill gets fouled, and he makes one, misses the second one.
Pascal Siakam has never been in the finals.
Okay,
Kyle Lowry's never been in the finals.
Okay.
Never is Marc Gasol.
Okay, to me, if number 2 is the guy, if number 2 is the guy you say he is, then you have to just take that shot. Just go ahead and power through, go to your left, go around Clay the left way, because there's nobody clearly open anywhere. It's not like they left somebody glaringly open anywhere, because Steph stayed with Danny Green over in the near corner. So there's no obvious path. He whips it to Van Vliet, but Van Vliet doesn't really have a shot either because he's being guarded.
Right. Skip, if you remember, in Game 7 of the NBA Finals, the Lakers against the Celtics, who hit that last three? Kobe gave the ball up. He threw the ball to Metta World Peace and then tried to get it back. And Metta took it. Ron Artest at the time, he took the last-second shot.
Was he open?
At some point in time, and Skip, my point, yes.
Wide open.
My point is that you don't always have to play hero ball. Sometimes the right play is never the wrong decision. I still believe Kawhi made the right play. I believe it's the right decision. It just so happens that Marc Gasol and Kyle Lowry were so close together that Draymond, who was guarding Marc Gasol at the time, was able to pivot, get off, and contest the shot. Give Draymond credit. Give Iggy credit, whether they called it or not, to say, you know what, let's get this ball out of Kawhi's hand before something bad happens. And give the Warriors credit, because Skip, we talked about it. Their DNA is what? They always talk about our DNA. It's defense. And what we saw the other night, they couldn't stop them from scoring. At some point in time, you got to make stops. You got to get stops. And they got stops when they needed. They were down 6 with 3 minutes to go. And they got stops when they absolutely had to have them. And they got one at the most opportune of times, which was 15 seconds. And they ended up getting a Game 6 on their home court.
All I saw all night long last night was Lowry and Van Vliet shredding that DNA defense of the Warriors. They got into the lane at will and imposed their will, because every time one of those two little guards got in the lane, great things happened for Toronto because they get open in the middle and they beat their guy off the dribble, and all of a sudden all hell breaks loose. It just causes chaos. So maybe the better play, what if they had let Van Vliet or Lowry go from the top and just dribble drive and get in the lane and kick it to somebody? Maybe that's the better play.
Yeah, but when you got a Kawhi Leonard on your team, you're going to put the ball in your superstar's hands.
Okay,
but
do
I
you
don't
want
know
it
if you
in his
saw it
hands
last
or
night,
not?
Skip.
Is it in or out?
I do.
Okay, you're giving me both sides of the equation. I'm
No,
good with your first
no,
side.
There you go. There you,
Okay.
No, you don't. No. I don't give you no both sides. I'm saying the right play is never the wrong decision. I want the ball in Kawhi Leonard's hands, and I'll live with every decision he makes.
Okay, I will not, because he didn't make a decision that led to a game-winning shot. If he's that guy,
But Skip, you can't.
just
Skip,
go.
you can't have
Just
the luxury
go.
of hindsight.
How many times in this series have we seen him just drive on two guys and just bounce one of them off and just go up and make a 10-foot shot? Could have done that last night.
But I
Have
tell
the
you
guts.
what you did see. You saw Kyle Lowry turn a lot of shots down last night, didn't you? He had some wide open threes and passed the ball to Siakam and passed the ball to Serge Ibaka. Did you notice that last night, Skip Bayless? Did you notice also they had only, in the first 4 games, they had missed only 10 free throws. They missed 6 last night, Skip.
Okay.
I've heard a lot
Number
of
2
players that's
missed a
won
couple.
championship games,
Yep.
and they say the hardest game to win
I agree.
is the game that you need to get
Totally
the 4.
agree. Totally agree.
So
But
don't think they don't feel the pressure because you're in your building and the pressure is mounting.
the pressure's mounting, and as the pressure mounted last night, once again, Golden State, who lives and dies by the three-point shot, lived by it last night by making 20. The team that has won the three-point shooting for the night has won every game of this series. So now as they go home, can Golden State continue to drop threes, rain threes? Because if they will, and they do, and I think they will, they're going to win Game 6 to force a Game 7. And boy, the pressure will really be on the home team then.
And Skip, we got to give you
Yeah, don't
kudos
worry about no
for a
pressure.
correct
I want
score
100 cases
prediction.
to do.
I did do that.
Yes,
didn't I? I
you
forgot about
predicted
that.
109 to 104, which was the closest
Wow.
to the actual score of 106 to
Wow.
105. So
Thank you for that.
some breakfast
Appreciate
sprinkles
that.
for you.
Yeah.
Whatever, Skip.
Okay.
All right, we're going to give you a chance to get even, though, Shannon. Don't worry. So is anyone
Yes.
to blame for Kevin Durant's injury? We're going to discuss that next. And don't forget to listen every day on the Fox Sports channel on SiriusXM. We'll be right back, everybody.
No mercy.
Kevin Durant made his highly anticipated return last night after missing a month. KD scored 11 before injuring his Achilles early in the second quarter. KD leaving the arena on crutches, wearing a walking boot. Reports say he tore the Achilles. Now, the Warriors got the win, but KD was on everyone's mind after the game, including Warriors president Bob Myers. Take a listen.
He was cleared to play tonight. That was a collaborative decision. I don't believe there's anybody to blame, but I understand this world. And if you have to, you can blame me. I run our basketball operations department. And let me tell you something about Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant loves to play basketball, and the people that questioned whether he wanted to get back to this team were wrong. And I'm not here to... He's one of the most misunderstood people. He's a good teammate. He's a good person. It's not fair.
Strong words from a clearly emotional Myers. Shannon, what do you think? Is anyone to blame for KD's injury?
Hell yeah. And Bob Myers couldn't even shed real tears. I've heard of dry shampoo, but I've never heard of dry tears. He couldn't even muster a tear because it was reported, Skip, the organization felt that Kevin Durant was not as injured as he said he was, and he wasn't fighting as hard as he needed to get back on the court. It was also reported that some of his teammates felt that Kevin Durant wasn't pushing to get back on the court. Here's Bob Myers saying Kevin Durant loved to play the game of basketball. Now, I want to know who in the organization, Skip, Was it the secretaries? Was it the custodians? Or was it the people that do the meal service? I need to know the people in the organization because it said people in the organization. It said teammates of his. Question. Really? Hold on, what the hell is this? This is not a DJ Khaled or our album or a collaborative issue. This is why players do not trust team doctors because at the end of the day, what are they, Skip? They are team employees, and it's big on their resume because if I'm a team doctor and someone wants to bring their child, a son or daughter, if he's good enough to be the doctor for Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, well, he's damn sure good enough to be a doctor for my son or daughter. Skip, this is bull jive. And you and I, we talked about it from the very first time it happened. I say, Skip, I've never seen anybody put ice on a calf injury that low behind his heel. I say, look, I don't know, have any inside information, but I've seen enough Achilles tear up close and personal. The first thing the guy does is he looks back. And I remember in practice, a guy tore his Achilles. He asked me, did I kick him? Did I trip him? I'm like, nah, man, I ain't trip you. That's what Kevin Durant did, Skip. He looked back. He didn't grab his calf. He looked back because he thought P.J. Tucker kicked him or P.J. Tucker tripped him. And then for Steve Kerr to say after the game, the doctor said he couldn't hurt it any worse than it already was. Skip, if that's not malpractice, I don't know what is. Because the man had a slight tear in that Achilles. I don't care what they say. Skip, this is wrong. And they put that undue pressure on Kevin Durant to get out there. Because I know, being an ex-professional athlete, Skip, let me tell you, this is how they go about doing it. You okay? How far along are you? Because, man, we could sure use you out there. Just your presence. Man, you know how those guys rally around you, man. Man, you can bring these guys together, man. If we, KD, boy, if we could just get you out there, we don't need you to be your normal KD self. Just your presence. And watch how the guys pick up. That's how they put that pressure on you. But this is why, again, Kawhi Leonard went outside and got independent doctors to tell him, say, nah, bro, I don't know if Kevin Durant went and got independent evaluation, but he should have. This injury it might have happened, Skip, say 6 months or a year down the road. This injury should have never happened last night. Kevin Durant, I don't care what anybody says, Kevin Durant should not have played last night.
Okay, let's go back to the start. The Warriors said from the start it's a calf strain. That was the official report, and Steve Kerr stuck by it at every press session, media session he did. It's a calf strain. Nothing about the Achilles tendon, though you and I initially thought it's got to be an Achilles injury. And every time we saw Kevin with ice bags on, they were way down low on the ankle where the Achilles attachment is.
Achilles attached to the heel, yes.
Okay, so let's take the party line. Let's just say it was a calf strain. If that's the God's truth, then what happened last night had absolutely nothing to do with the calf strain, because I know enough about Achilles and calves that one does not lead to the other. That if you have a calf strain, it does not make your Achilles more vulnerable. The only way your Achilles is vulnerable is if it is compromised in some way. If it has been frayed or if it has what they call micro tears in it, you can see it on the MRI. You can just see the little white dots that it's got small tears in it. Maybe it had even a significant tear. I don't know. But if it was just a calf strain, it's an apple to the orange. And if they're being honest about that, then last night was just a freakish bad break because one had nothing to do with the other. He just happened to rupture his Achilles, if in fact that's what it ends up being, and we think that's, according to all the reports, it's going to be ruptured. If he ruptured it with a calf strain, then one did not lead to the other. It was just a horrible break for Kevin Durant. But if they knew, to your point, that the Achilles had any sort of even the most minor injury, it is vulnerable. And if you go back and you try to protect it or you favor it, it can go like that. It is a ticking time bomb. So to me, the shock to me of the night was that if you watch the pregame warm-ups, Kevin looked like he was 100% healthy in pregame. He was just doing a solo warm-up. He was moving and grooving. He was pushing off on his jump shots. He was powering to the rack and slamming it and jumping hard off that bad leg. And I was like, man, if that was just a calf strain and he looks that healthy last night, now I'm starting to wonder why didn't you play in Game 4?
Right.
You know,
there you go.
Okay.
Now you talking, Skip.
Okay.
Now you talking.
So it was shaking me up because that's why that point spread plummeted last night. You know, by about 2 full points by game time. Well, in fact, it went more. No, it went 3.5 plus 1 because by game time, Golden State was favored by a point and it opened at Toronto minus 3.5. So the betting public,
Correct.
Vegas, they're on Kevin Durant because they think he's completely healthy. And they were right for a little while. And again, they were right in the end just because I guess it was a push. But the point was, no, they're favored, so it was a push. So the point of this is, I don't know. Did he have some Achilles, even what you'd call a minor Achilles injury where it was just micro tears and he felt pressured because DeMarcus rushed back, and then Clay rushed back, and then Looney rushed back, and Iggy had rushed back, right? They had all rushed back. It's desperate straits. You're down 3-1. And he says, well, okay, my Achilles is a little compromised, but maybe I can muddle through this. Maybe it'll be okay. And by all accounts, they signed off on it. And then Shannon, he had to sign off on it in the end, right? Did he feel pressure to sign off?
But Skip, exactly, because they kept putting that pressure on him to begin with. Skip, the one thing we know about Kevin Durant, what does he hear? Everything that's being said about him, be it social media, be it on television, be it on radio, in the newspaper, he hears everything. So if this is coming from my organization, but for Skip, you look at Bob Myers. Did you see a tear?
No.
Did you see any resemblance of a tear?
No, but...
If you want to blame someone, blame me because I'm the president of basketball operation. You're also probably one of the ones... Look, when we hear things that come from the organization, it's coming from head coach, it's coming from general managers, president of basketball operations, Skip. That's who's doing the speaking. They're not going around asking no secretaries, no custodian, no meal prep, what's going on. And the players, they put that pressure because you mentioned it. Clay got back out there with a hamstring. Kawhi Leonard got out there with torn cartilage, which I've played with. Andre Iguodala.
Yeah. DeMarcus rushed back from a torn quad. Okay? Okay.
Now, here he is. He's trying to rush back to a piece. And Skip, here's the thing. You know how this works. You've covered this game far too long. It get to a point where the guys actually see themselves because you spend so much time with the guy next to you. You see that guy's your brother. You see that guy's your family. And you don't want to let him down. I don't want to let Sterling Sharpe down. I don't want to let Libby Sharpe down. I would do anything to get back out there and to help them. Kevin Durant says, man, you know what, you're right. Let me give this thing a go. Against his better judgment, Skip, I don't know if he got a second opinion or a third opinion. But I can tell you what, when guys normally have this kind of money, this is why they go outside and get second and third opinions, because at the end of the day, that team doctor works for that team. And his bread is buttered by that team. He doesn't work for Kevin Durant. I need to go to someone independent that has no dog in the fight, because if I got a dog in the fight, you damn well better believe I want my dog to win.
So it was interesting last night in telling that Steve Kerr would not touch this when he addressed the media. He kept saying, I defer to Bob Myers. He'll handle all this. So Steve Kerr had no opinion on whether he should or shouldn't have played. And
But Skip, hold on. Wasn't it Steve Kerr that says, he's going to give it a go? Or he's very close? Or he's going to do this, he's going to do that. Now all of a sudden, you want to turn everything over to Bob Myers.
So when Bob Myers sat up there, help me out, forgive me for this, I'm being a little cold-blooded cynical, but remember, Bob Myers' job desperately hinges next year on trying to keep Kevin Durant in Golden State. So he's going to cry fake tears maybe, exaggerated
Crocodile
tears.
fake.
Yeah, he's going to do like that. And then he's going to say, he's the most misunderstood person. Yeah, we get all that. But I don't know. I think Draymond understood him pretty well when they got into it on the bench last November in that Clippers game, right?
Well, Bob Myers has the perfect job because he could not be an actor, because the thing that all actors can do is cry on command. And he couldn't even get up there after having hours to muster it up. Go to the harshest thing that's ever happened in your life. Because that's what actors say they do. They go to that moment that's most painful there, and the tears just flow freely. He couldn't even get to that point, Skip.
Okay. So now to Kevin's looming free agency. Will whatever team still give him the max? Sure they will.
Hell yeah.
Will they just say, okay, we'll put him on the shelf for maybe a year? It could take a year. It took DeMarcus almost a year to get back from his, right?
Basically, he got hurt in January. He came back in January. So basically, it was a year.
Okay.
So that's what you're looking at, Kevin Durant. You're looking at Kevin Durant sometime or probably around 2020 season. Not the first part of 2020, the next part of 2020.
Yeah, would the Knicks or the Nets or the Lakers or the Clippers
Absolutely.
take a shot? Sure, they're going to take a shot and give him the max because they'll say, we'll put him in mothballs for a year and then we'll have him for 3 more years after that.
Absolutely, Skip.
The Achilles surgery is so much better today. The rehab is so much smarter today that the odds on success, I would give it a 90% chance of getting back at 100%. And it didn't used to be that way. It was more of an X factor.
Right.
So will Kevin almost certainly come back full strength from this? Almost certainly he will.
You're right, Skip, but it's also one of the injuries that's most likely to get re-injured again, even before the healing process is complete. We saw what happened with John Wall. Yeah. We saw Peters, big Jason Peters. Yeah. We've seen D'Angelo Hall said he tore his, made a sudden movement, and boom, it went again.
No,
so
agree.
It's also one of the injuries
dicey.
that when you have it, you better be really, really careful.
And Shannon, KD's a big man with a lot of weight on that Achilles as well. An MRI later today should tell us more, answer some of these questions.
No mercy.
Hey guys, Jenny Taft here with a quick word from one of our sponsors, Hims, a new wellness brand for men. Did you know that 66% of men lose their hair by age 35? The problem is, when you start to notice hair loss, it's actually too late. Here's the thing. It's easier to keep the hair you have than to replace the hair you've lost. So, do you want a bald spot to pop up, or do you want to do something about it first? Thanks to science, baldness can be optional. Check out forhims.com, a one-stop shop for hair loss, skincare, sexual wellness for men. Hims connects you with real doctors and medical-grade solutions to treat hair loss. No snake oil pills or gas station counter supplements. These are prescription solutions backed by science. With Hims, there's no waiting room, no awkward in-person doctor visits. It's so easy, and you can save hours by going to forhims.com. Once there, answer a few quick questions and a doctor will review and can prescribe you products that are shipped directly to your door. Order now. Undisputed listeners get a trial month of Hims for just $5 today, right now, while supplies last. See website for full details and safety information. This would cost hundreds if you went to the doctor or a pharmacy. Go to forhims.com/undisputed. That's forhims.com/undisputed. forhims.com/undisputed. Now, back to the show.
No mercy.
All right, Shannon, this one's for you. Kawhi Leonard scored 26 points last night. He really made his mark in the fourth quarter, however. The Claw scoring 12 points in the final period. That gave Toronto a 6-point lead late in the game. Then to the closing seconds, Raptors down by 1. The Warriors double-team Kawhi. He passes up the potential game winner. Instead, Kyle Lowry takes the shot, misses, and Toronto loses by 1. So, Shannon, what grade would you give Kawhi for last night's game?
Skip, you know I've always been fair. And I know you think sometimes I give LeBron grades that he doesn't deserve, and I'm sure you think that I give Kawhi grades sometimes that he doesn't deserve. But I'm going to have the only grade that I can give Kawhi is a C+, because I thought he was average last night. I don't think he really impacted the game on any end of the floor, especially early, because he let KD get going early, his game suffered because he had 3 turnovers in the first quarter, and he wasn't his customary self. He was great for a stretch in the fourth quarter where he rattled off 10 straight points. But I don't really think he had his thumbprint. I don't think he impacted the game like we're used to seeing Kawhi do. And so by that stretch, Skip, I didn't like his game offensively. He was 9 of 24 from the field. Defensively, he let KD get into a rhythm early. So that's the best I can do. I thought he was average. I thought they played average, and this is why we have a game 6. So the best I can give Kawhi is a C+.
Wait a second. Did you start your soliloquy by saying, I should know that you're always fair? You fair?
Fair. Firm, but fair.
When it comes to LeBron and number 2, you're outrageously not fair. You're outrageously overprotective of both. So I'm sorry. I wish I could have taken your course in college because you're the most generous grader I've ever encountered. Again, you give him a B+ for an average game. Well, then that should be a C.
No, I didn't. I gave him a C+. I didn't give him no B+. I gave him a C.
Oh, I thought you said a B+.
I gave him a C+.
Oh, a C+.
No, I gave him a C+. I thought his game was average.
Oh, I thought you said B+. Okay, well then you're...
No, I gave him a C+.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I misunderstood. I thought you said B. Okay, so
no.
then I'm going to be the more generous here because I'm going to give him a B- because of that flurry. It was a sensational flurry. He just couldn't finish it off. But until that flurry, he had a game even quieter than he usually is off the court. Because remember, in the third quarter, he scored 1 point. And then in the fourth quarter, before the flurry, he had scored 2 points on an offensive rebound putback. So we go all the way down to the 5:13 mark, and he's got 16 total points for the game. And at that point, he goes Jordan-esque crazy. And he makes a couple of threes, and he makes 3 jump shots, and all of a sudden he scored 10 points in less than 2 minutes. So that was such a sensational flurry that I'm going to move him up above average. So I'm going to move him up into the B- category. But from then on, he goes stone cold quiet again. And he misses his last 2 shots, one with 2:50 remaining, a fall away in which he shot an air ball. And then minute 10 left, he's got a chance to put them in the lead. It's a tie game, and he takes a 26-foot three-point shot, and he misses it fairly badly. So down the stretch, he does nothing. That last 3:28, he scores no points. They have 7 possessions in the last 3:28, and if you're that guy, if you're Jordan-esque, you just figure out how to get a hold of the basketball and score the basketball, and he did not. Go ahead.
I was going to say, Skip, the reason why I gave him a C+, because had he not had that flurry, he'd have got a D.
Okay.
Because I thought the first half he didn't play particularly well. It was the 5 turnovers, Skip. He was really, really careless, really, really sloppy with the basketball. And like I say, he doesn't always have to score to impact the game, but he let Kevin Durant get a rhythm early. And in the process of Kevin Durant getting a rhythm, which opened the floor, Klay and Steph now got a rhythm. Now you got to deal with them, even though Kevin Durant's gone out. They never got out of that. And Steph was able to keep that rhythm for the first half. And then Klay, like you mentioned, 8 points in the third quarter, 6 points in the fourth quarter. So he was able to keep it going.
He did. So then what happened defensively to number 2 on what became the shot of shots, the game-winning shot? Where was number 2 on that play in which Klay hit the biggest 3 of the night? He was guarding Klay. He was cheating completely underneath the basket for reasons I don't know. You cannot cheat off Klay Thompson unless you don't have any respect for him. Maybe you just didn't have any respect. But he made you pay him some respect because once the basketball gets swung around, Draymond made a hellacious, great anticipation pass and just whipped it cross court to Klay, who was wide open. And here came number 2 on the fly, and he leaves his feet and leaps, hoping that Klay will take the bait, and Klay did not take the bait. He pump faked.
Well,
number
because
2 goes flying into the first row.
One of the plays earlier, Skip, Kawhi blocked his jumper in a corner. He tried a 3-point shot, and Kawhi blocked it with his left hand.
Yeah, but that was obviously
Klay doesn't
that was
know
against the shot clock, and he's just going to force it up there, and it was a pretty easy pickings.
But the thing is, Skip, and this is what you know when you play the Warriors, the 2 guys you can never cheat and help off of is Klay and Steph. even when even if KD's there, it makes it virtually impossible to help off anyone other than Iggy and Draymond.
Okay.
But two guys, once KD left, why would you ever think to cheat off of Clay and Steph? What would ever possess you to do that?
Okay, then you just convinced me. I just lowered his grade to C+, is what you said yours was. So I'm going to do that because
you was waiting to do that anyway. You was waiting to do that anyway.
Once he flew by Klay Thompson, he had the poise, the wherewithal just to take one settling dribble, which he is so good at. If he gets his one dribble and sets, you are cooked because that ball is going to swish, and it swished. And that was the basketball game. And from then on, let's look at the big picture total. So he winds up number 2 with 26 points and 12 rebounds. I'll give you the 12 rebounds, pretty good. 5 turnovers mitigates that. But do you realize number 2 took his most shots last night in the finals? He took 24 shots, most he's taken in any finals game.
Right.
And he still only scored 26 points. And what did we see?
That 26 on 24 shots is not very efficient.
He has been getting to the free throw line like crazy. Last night he did not. He had his series low free throw attempts at 8, and he did miss 2 of them. Not that that's awful because he's been shooting at a 90+% clip. But by his standards, that was not very good, right? So
well, it wasn't very good, Skip. And if you look at it, the first half, they got to the free throw line a bunch. I think if I'm not mistaken, the second half, what did they get, 5-6 times to the free throw line? It was getting to the free throw line, which kept them in contact with Golden State. And what was separating them is that not only were they getting to the free throw line in the first 4 games, they were knocking them down. They were going 27 or 28. They were going 22 or 24. Now, all of a sudden, as the pressure starts to mount, you go 21 of 27. When you had only missed 10 free throws in the previous 4 games combined, you missed 6 in one game because you know what this game represents, Skip. You're in your building. You have one game away. You're 48 minutes away from being NBA champs. Don't think, because like you said, with the exception of Kawhi and Danny Green, no one else has ever felt that kind of pressure. No one else has ever been in that moment before.
And I'm going to say this one more time because I watched him for 7 years in San Antonio. Number 2 does not love that late game, last second kind of pressure. I was not surprised he gave the ball up. And again, if you're Jordan-esque, to me, if you go back and look at that play again, the double team is coming late enough. Iggy's coming late enough that if you had seen it and anticipated it, you just attack Clay to your left. You can bounce him off and you can get a jump shot.
But Skip, I went back and looked at it. If you notice something, Sean Livingston is standing there. That's why he doesn't go left. Look at Sean Livingston. That's why he goes right, because he sees Livingston standing there. And he doesn't know Iggy's going to come because he thinks Iggy's going to tail with Kyle Lowry. So now once Kyle Lowry disappears and Iggy comes, he's like, oh my goodness, now what? Now he has to pivot and hopes he can find someone that can create a shot for themselves. And give them credit because Sean Livingston was standing to his left. That's what dissuaded him from going to his left. He thinks he has a better path to the right, and Iggy comes and traps him, and he has to give it up.
Are you giving Sean Livingston that much credit? He plays like scarecrow defense. He's like beanpole
But look
defense.
look where he is, though, Skip.
It just doesn't matter. If you're that guy, you just power through. You get to the free throw line. There are a lot of ways you can do it. You just say, get out of my way. I'm going to attack this before they can get their feet set, and I'm either going to get a clean look at a jump shot or I'm just going to keep on plowing, and they're going to have to foul me. They've had to foul him the whole series. They can't keep him from the lane.
But Skip,
if
you
really
think about it,
yeah,
he is that guy, but that's not his game. His game is not Kobe. His game is not MJ. His game is more Magic, more LeBron. I will take the shot if it presents itself. But if there's a better option, or if they trap me to get it, because he won't play hero ball. He's made that abundantly clear. He's not going to play hero ball. He will make the right play, and you must be in that situation. You must trust yourself enough to what decision you make, live with the results, good or bad.
You're describing plays that happen in the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter. I agree with you. He can be unselfish almost to a fault. This is it. This is a chance to win the NBA Finals. and you let it slip away because you did not force
Hey, hold
the
on. What you
issue.
mean you let it slip away? All Golden State did was delay the inevitable. It's still going. The coordination will happen. The Raptors will win the series.
Really? Huh?
Yeah,
That would
really.
be shocking to me because I picked Golden State in 7, and I'm sticking right with it.
You can pick whatever
Pressure
you want.
mounts.
You can pick whatever you want.
Pressure mounts.
You can
Here we
pick
go.
blueberries, grapes, strawberries,
Yep.
but guess what? You better pick the Raptors because they win in the series.
Well, somebody I know picked Golden State in 6, and now he's driving the Toronto bandwagon. I don't know how that happens. I'm still sticking with my pre-finals pick.
I ride in the catbird seat with Kawhi.
Okay, good.
At least we have some consensus this morning on a grade for Kawhi. So C pluses
Yeah.
all the
C
way
pluses
around.
all around.
Yeah.
Up next, did the Warriors prove they can win without KD? That's what we're discussing next. We're back in just a moment.
No mercy.
Kevin Durant made his dramatic return last night, but unfortunately it did not last long. Early in the second quarter, KD injures his Achilles and had to leave the game. Meanwhile, back on the court, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson hit 3 huge three-pointers in the final minutes to give the Warriors the lead. Closing seconds with Toronto down by 1. Kawhi Leonard gets double-teamed and Kyle Lowry's potential game winner deflected. Golden State got the victory with Game 6 Thursday back in the Bay. We are joined now by FS1 NBA analyst Chris Broussard. Good morning, Chris. What do you say is the biggest reason for this Warriors win?
Skip, let me make sense of all of this. All right. We've seen one 3-1 comeback in NBA Finals history, right? Cleveland over Golden State in 2016. I felt then, and I still feel now, that when Draymond got suspended for Game 5, that gave Cleveland the hope it needed, right? Just to feel like there's a chance. You know, we should win Game 5. We're going home. Then Game 7, you take your chances with the best player in the world, LeBron James. I think last night that's what Kevin Durant's comeback was for the Warriors. It was not only that he played well individually. Obviously, he was terrific with the 11 points. Not only that he opened up the floor for Steph and Klay and just made it easier for everybody, but the energy and the hope that created. Now, when he got hurt, I thought, contrary to what happened in Houston, I thought it was over. Because I thought they were going to be so deflated emotionally that, they were just going to collapse as human beings. And I give them credit for their resiliency. So I think that was a big part of this thing emotionally, and they showed some toughness, no question about it. We can point, when we look at why they won, we can point to some Raptors foibles at the end. Nick Nurse calling the timeout after Kawhi's flurry with 3:05 left.
Irrelevant to me. Irrelevant.
Really? Well,
It's too early. It doesn't. If that's your excuse, then you're going to lose the next two games.
that's not an excuse, but they had all the momentum, which is a big part of basketball. And I'm not saying it was definitely the game changer. But why did you call a timeout with 3 minutes left when your team is on this run, Kawhi's on fire, and Golden State is struggling?
Okay, he
and
said
they came
that
out
it looked
and
like
went up
number
9-2.
2 needed a blow. And also there's that new rule where if you don't use your timeout and it carries into the final 2 minutes, you lose your timeout. Okay?
I get it, but that's one thing you can point to. Secondly, is that the last play, to not get a clean look on the last play when you got, 16 seconds left, 15, 16 seconds left? Now, I thought with Kawhi, when he dribbled into the double team, once they doubled him, I thought he made the right play. But I thought if he had waited a little longer, and I don't think it was nerves, I think he just miscalculated. I think if he waits a little longer before he starts to make his move, just dribble into a pull-up 3, which he had hit, in that run, he had hit 2 of those 3s. So dribble up into a pull-up 3 before the double can come and just try to launch it over
Okay,
Klay.
I'll buy that.
I thought that could have been.
Okay.
But, so I'll give you that. But ultimately, it comes down to this. Golden State was on fire. They hit 23s. They shot 48% from 3, which is the second most threes in finals history. And to put it in context, remember when Cleveland won their one game over Golden State when they hit 24 threes, I think. Remember how I'd never seen anything like that. I'd never seen a shooting display like that. Well, they hit 20 last night. They were only 4 beneath that last night. And then the Raptors only hit 8. I'd love to credit Golden State's defense, but I got to be honest, the Raptors had open looks, and they just missed them. Golden State at times played good defense, but they missed a lot of open threes. And to cap it off, they only shot 78% from the free throw line. They had been shooting 90% Toronto in the first 4 games. So they shot uncharacteristically poorly in this game, considering how they'd been in the first 4 games. And Golden State was on fire. Steph and Clay, obviously, but Quinn Cook hit a big one. Iguodala even hit 1 big 3. Draymond hit a big 3 in the fourth quarter. And Cousins came and played well like he did in game 2. So, but ultimately, if I had to say one thing, Skip, out of all I said, I say the shooting. 23s for Golden State, 8 for Toronto. And that was
quick point of order before Shannon goes.
No, go ahead, Skip, take off. You take it.
In the second half, before Steph Curry hit the biggest three-point shot of his career, to tie it.
Right.
He was 1 for 8 in the second half from 3. So he had hit a cold spell. So I got you with the 23s, but he seemed so cold that it was against all odds that he was going to take that shot, which was a contested 3. It wasn't a clean look. It wasn't wide open. He had to create it off, he was on the move, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was coming around it. Yep.
Here's what I saw. I saw the all-time classic premature celebration. And it was psychological, but you could just feel that building erupt after number 2 went on a Jordan-esque salvo, and he scores 10 points in less than 2 minutes, starting at the 5:13 mark down to 3:28. Once that happened, you could just feel the roof lift off that arena, and it was like Toronto was prematurely celebrating their first NBA championship. Shannon Sharpe, somewhere in Atlanta last night, was prematurely celebrating because he thought it was over, and he thought that number 2 had crowned himself as the MVP, and he had shown you he could take over a game the way Jordan or LeBron or Kobe or whoever, or Magic or Bird or whoever you want to talk about had taken over. He had gone all-time in that stretch. And I'll give you, he did go all-time in that stretch, but the game was not over. There was 3:28 left. And even though it looked to my eyes like Golden State had hit the proverbial wall, they had just run out of gas and out of miracles, it looked like Steph was so cold at 1 for 8 in the second half that there is no way they're going to figure out how to come back. And then the biggest shot, momentum-wise, of the game is Clay hit his first 3. And it was a shocker because all of a sudden, boom, you're saying, wait a second, they're back in the game.
All that was
now.
coming out of that timeout.
Okay.
Just quickly to your point, I do agree. I think that the Raptors, I didn't feel like Golden State was done because with the 3-point shot, you're never
Especially
out of
with
it
those
now.
two
Right,
out there?
especially with that team, you're never out of it. But I think maybe that's why Nurse felt comfortable calling that timeout. And you're right, maybe it was legitimate reasons that he gave, but that may have been part of it too. We got this.
Let's
calm everybody down.
Okay?
Let's
we
get
got
our
this.
composure.
Here we go.
And he felt
now let's
fine
just
calling
play it out. And then the other shock to me, even though they got Clayed and Stephed and then finally Clayed with the game winner, Golden State survived and won another huge game in spite of itself. It played another incredibly sloppy basketball game by its dynastic standards because 15 more turnovers, and then Shannon and I talked about it earlier, in the last 37 seconds, Draymond steps on across the half-court line and gets a backcourt violation. You can't do that. And then DeMarcus has a moving pick called on him with 15.7 seconds left, and you're only up 1. So twice you give Toronto new life, right? And Toronto could not capitalize in large part to me because number 2 went very quiet over the last 3:28.
I thought it was bizarre that he didn't have the ball in his hands. Now, maybe he was worn out. Maybe because Kyle Lowry was bringing it up, which obviously is the point guard. But I would have put it at that point. I would have put it in Kawhi's hand.
Just take it home.
Yeah, because the way he was playing,
yeah,
and again, I think he was just worn out.
Well, he forced up that turnaround fall-away jumper and airballed
and
that one.
Exactly.
And then he took a 3 and missed that one, and that was it for him.
That was a heat check. That was a heat check, Skip.
Yep.
He had I'm feeling good. I pulled up for 2 threes. I got into the basket, almost got an and one on Iggy. I hit another pull-up. So that was a heat check to see where he actually was at that point in time. But I thought Kevin Durant's influence on this ball game, although he only played 12 minutes, the 11 points, and the opening of the court, he allowed Clay and Steph to get looks that they did not enjoy in the first 4 games that they played in. And so now he let them find a rhythm. And the one thing you know about great shooters, once they get a rhythm, it's hard to get them out of that rhythm. You see, Skip, that's what happened in Game 3, is that Steph didn't have anybody to come along with him. And we talked about it. If he had Clay to come along with him. Now, in Game 4, Clay came along, but Steph didn't come with him. In this game, both of them was riding. Both of them, it was a bicycle, as you like to say, Skip, built for 2, but both of the guys were pedaling. And so even though and that's the mark of a great shooter with huge confidence, no matter how bad the struggle has been, he feels the next shot he puts up is going to go in. Because there's no way, Skip, struggling the way he had been the second half, shooting the 3, he should have come, Skip, he came off that pick knowing, I'm letting this ball go.
He did.
And it's going to go
Shot
in.
it with conviction.
He shot it with,
as opposed to
in.
double clutching, hitching, second guessing.
Yeah,
he just shot.
yes.
Yeah, one of his shots before that, he had kind of hitched a little bit. He wasn't doing it all night, but maybe it was the one right before that, but yeah.
Yeah.
And Skip, you know about Klay Thompson? If he ever catches the ball at the 3 and you fly by him and he dribbles that ball like
One
he's at the
time,
free throw line,
you're done.
Oh, don't even worry about it.
Yep.
Just go, hey,
It's
get
like
ready to
a
get it
free
up out the
throw.
net.
Yep, it's like a free throw.
It is.
I do want to echo what you said because this was fascinating to me. Remember, Kevin Durant went down with 9:46 left in the second quarter. Right. So they had to survive, more than a half quarter
Basically
there.
3
in a whole
quarters.
yeah, it's close to 3 quarters that you had to survive without him. This reminded me more of Houston/Portland, where they just said, we're going to be okay, because they showed me guts, they showed me resilience, they showed me that DeMarcus Cousins, as the third-string center, could come in and just say, I got this, I'm going to be okay, because they needed that, or they wouldn't have survived without his, for him to make 6 out of 8 shots and have 6 rebounds and hit a big 3. And Quinn Cook finally made 1 big 3. They got some contributions, but they played with a conviction I had not seen without Kevin. Because remember, all along before, through this series, they're thinking, well, he's going to come back next game. He's going to come back. We'll be okay. We'll be okay. Well, last night they knew once and for all that's the end of that deal.
That's an interesting point, because you're right about that. And maybe Golden State has done themselves a disservice by letting it linger. He might come back. He might come back. I think they were playing mind games with the opponents, but maybe it hurt them a little bit, too.
Yep.
But the biggest thing is that the Raptors are going to have to understand. The Warriors are like that homeboy. You got that homeboy, he come over and he don't know when to leave. You got to make him leave. If you think the Warriors are going to go away, the Warriors are that homeboy, they're not leaving. You got to make them leave. They're not going to quit. They're just not going to say, you know what, we down 3-1. All right, we had a great run. It's over now. No KD hurt. So, hey, guys, let's just say we had a great run. We'll get them next year. They're not going away like that. That's not how they're built. That's not how they're wired. This unit has come back from 3-1 before. That's what everybody forget. With Kevin Durant on the opposing team.
Yep.
So they've been here before. This is not something new to them. Maybe they haven't done it in the finals, but they did it in the Western Conference Finals. So this very unit feels comfortable saying, hey, we can do it again.
Yep. So final point. Of the 5 games played so far in the NBA Finals, the team that shot the best from 3 has won all 5. Golden State dies by the 3. So in Game 2 at Toronto and now in Game 5, they won the 3-point shooting contest. And last night, they won it by a lot.
Right.
Okay, and it took that, right?
You believe they can do it again?
Obviously,
Skip, but think about it. They made 23s and they only won by 1.
Okay.
What happens if they make 10?
Well, what happens if they have only 3 turnovers instead of 15? How about that?
Well, they
But
turn it over.
We know they're careless with the ball.
They're gonna have
they're
at least
they're
13.
careless with the ball.
Yeah. Okay.
But if you what you said is definitely factual. if that's going to be the pattern, then you would bet on Golden State.
You would bet on Golden
Because
State.
obviously they're the better three-point shooter.
Aha.
Excellent
Well, I tell you what, you
points
bet on
all
Golden
the way
State, Chris.
around, gentlemen.
I know you're a man of the cloth and you don't like to bet, but you bet on Golden State. Let me get some of that old
You
that
picked
old
Golden
collection
State.
plate
You-
money
We're
you
going
got.
to give
bailed
you
on
that,
him?
Shannon.
That was a long
bailed on
time
him?
ago.
Just a minute,
Yep.
Shannon and Chris, because Chris is sticking around with us. And up next, we're going to discuss if the Warriors are now in the driver's seat
Aha.
in the finals. We're back right after this.
No mercy.
The Warriors survived to fight another day after last night's dramatic one-point victory. Raptors up 3-2, but Golden State is favored by 3.5 for Thursday's Game 6 back home in the Bay. Steph and Clay were clutch last night, but to triumph once again, they're going to have to get it done without Kevin Durant. Chris Broussard's still with us, but we're going to give Shannon you first crack at this next question. Who do you think has the edge now in this series?
The Raptors still have the edge because they're the closest to 4 wins. Golden State has to beat them 2 times. They have to beat them in Oracle for Game 6, and then they have to come back on the road and beat them in Toronto for Game 7. And I don't believe that's going to happen. Obviously, they're playing with a lot of confidence, but guess what now? There's not that specter. There's not that ray of hope that Kevin Durant's going to come back and rescue us. Because what we've seen is that this team is different. They don't get the open looks. They get contested threes. And, yeah, give them credit. They've hit some of those. But they haven't had a shooting night like they had last night until KD returned to the lineup. They went 10 of 35 in the first 4 games in the first quarter shooting threes. They made the first 5 last night, and they go 7 of 11. That was the start of something beautiful for them. So, no, I do not believe the Raptors are in a favorable position. They feel comfortable because they get an opportunity to play another day. But I still believe the Raptors are in control. And I would rather ask the Warriors this. Would you rather be Toronto or would you rather be them?
Yeah, I got to be honest. I'm with Shannon. Look, unlike him, I have pick integrity. So I'm sticking with my Warriors. I'm sticking with my Warriors pick. And I feel good about them being able to win
You got
this
Warriors
series.
in 6.
Well, yeah, I'm sticking with Warriors in 6.
Okay.
No, look, games are irrelevant to me. Warriors win. That's all I'm banking on. But I can't deny that Toronto's got the advantage. Like you said, they're up 3-2. If there's a Game 7, it's in their house. And you look at last night. We just talked about it. I mean, Golden State hits 23, second most in finals history. The Raptors are terrible from the three-point line, 8 for 32. Bad by their standards from the free throw line. Kawhi, as you guys talked about, other than that little 2-minute stretch, he was bad. I mean, he was great in that 2 minutes, but before that, he was bad. Pascal Siakam was bad, and they still only lost by a point. So, and then on top of that, Golden State, Kevon Looney, is he going to play? Do we know? Like, he doesn't put up anything in the box score, but he's an important
He
player
is.
for
I
them,
agree.
right? You know?
They say he's going to try.
I hope he does, and give him credit. You know, every time he gets hit in the chest, it's probably killing him. So give him credit. But if he's there, that helps, but he's still banged up. Can Boogie Cousins deliver another pretty good performance like he did? We got excited after game 2.
Not if you count on him.
Well,
Not if you're counting on him, you
might
can't.
be right. Because after game 2, you started counting on him. And we saw what happened. And then last night he played well. So I still think, obviously I want my pick to be right. I'm pulling for Golden State. And I think they have a good chance. But the edge has to go to Toronto.
Before I speak, I got to ask my friend Shannon Sharpe, what is the likelier outcome in your view right now? Toronto in 6 or Toronto in 7? I just want to put you on I want to pin you down today so I know where you're heading with this.
Toronto in 6 or 7. I would take, you know what, Skip? I would take Toronto. I would not be surprised if it went 7, but I'm going to get my due out of you, and I know you won't bet me if it goes to a Game 7, so I'm going to get my 4Ks of due out of you picking Toronto to win Game 6.
Okay, you're on.
How about that?
You want it right now? I'll take it. I got Golden
No,
State.
we got Skip. We got plenty of time. We got tomorrow's
You
show. We got
stepped in
Thursday.
it.
We got plenty of time.
Okay. I mean, you threw it out there. I accept it. I accept 4 cases of due. I'll take Golden State on Thursday night. I got it.
Okay.
Okay. Now, back to me. I, for one, am sticking with my pre-finals pick of Golden State in 7 and my pre-finals pick that Klay Thompson will be the MVP of the NBA Finals. That's what I said before, and I'm going to stick with it.
Would he be your Golden State MVP right now? Is it Steph or Klay?
He needs to have another big game and another big game.
His numbers are great.
They're really good, and he hit the biggest shot last night, and he hit 2 of the last 3 threes. He hit the first one that got it started, and then Steph, and then him. So he's in position, but he needs to close it out with 2 big games, which he is highly capable of having now that he appears to be getting close to healthy on his hamstring. It looks like he moved better last night, obviously, than he moved in Game 4. So now they do have clarity on Kevin Durant for the first time in the whole finals or the whole playoff run. They know it is now clear as broken glass. Kevin Durant is gone, right? We know, well, I mean, we think he ruptured his Achilles, but he is not coming back. I guess a miracle could occur, but I don't think a miracle is going to occur now.
No way.
So Kevin Durant no longer is hanging over this team. Whoever they are, whatever they're going to be, will be without Kevin Durant. So they don't have to question. They don't have to stew about it. They don't have to whisper about it. They know that who they got is who they got as they go forward. And it's a little more like end of Houston, Portland, where they were pretty sure Houston and Portland, they weren't going to have Kevin. So now that they can clear their mental decks and say, okay, here we go. And I'm going to bet on Golden State's championship character. As cliched as that might sound, I trust their championship character a little more than I do the other teams, because the other team, they've all got bits and pieces of experience, but they don't have this kind of experience. And Oracle is going to be, it might just lift off its foundation on Thursday night, right? Because this will be
good.
The
They can watch
game.
us. They can watch us celebrate. Good.
Okay.
I hope it's filled to capacity. They can watch us celebrate.
Said the man who picked Golden State
Right.
in 6, right?
Don't worry about what I picked. That was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, that was forever. That was ancient history on this show. But
Yeah,
that's okay.
who forgot that?
Okay, because look, DeMarcus Cousins is a really talented basketball player, and he's getting a little more comfortable by the dribble with this whole final stage. Right. And again, every time he touches the ball, when I'm rooting for Golden State as I am, he scares me to death. I don't want him to do anything except just get rid of it. Just do something.
Right.
Just don't throw it to the other team, right? But last night he pulled off 4 or 5 shots where I said, how'd you do that?
Hold on, Skip. The guy that you said that he's so talented, and he is, was benched. They went Kevon Looney, Andrew Bogut. Yep. They only turned to Boogie Cousins because Looney got hurt.
Desperation, I agree.
He should have been benched too.
Yep.
I didn't want to see him last night, and I was worried because they kept showing him on the bench, his face. I was like, man, I hope that attitude doesn't drain into the rest of the team. And obviously he comes out and plays well. What I would say to them, and I get their offense is different, but I want him down low. Not all the time, because you got to give him room to move, but that's when he was really effective. When I see him on the three-point line and then he starts to dribble, and that's when I get worried. Or trying to bring the ball up court after a rebound. Give it to a guard.
Hey, Chris, Skip, here's something that nobody has mentioned. Draymond has 6 technical fouls. He gets 1 more. He's gone for a game.
He is.
He must be on his best behavior for game 6 and 7.
Yep.
So what happens if he gets a foul call where he doesn't think he's fouled and he stomps and slams, and what happens then?
Yep.
1 more tech, and Dre got to sit it down. Uh-oh.
They can't afford to lose him. Even though he hadn't been tremendous, they can't afford
So you guys keep making the Toronto point. Golden State made 23s to 8, and look what happened. It was a 1-point game. Well, I can make counterpoints that Golden State played a sloppy basketball game and still managed to survive. They had 15 turnovers, and they gave up 13 offensive rebounds. Every time I looked up, somebody would miss a shot, and Toronto would just go snatch the rebound, and here we'd go again. And it seemed like every time they got an offensive rebound, they scored it.
but they're undersized. I mean, you watch
Right,
like
they're a
the
small
length,
team. They're going to lose the offensive rebounding battle.
Yeah, the Raptors, I mean, they're so much bigger, so much longer. I'll give you that. But look, Golden State is used to being in this position. They're 6-1 in elimination games. And Shannon mentioned earlier OKC, Houston last year. I mean, down 3-2. So they've played well in these games. That's an interesting point about, now that KD's gone, how will it affect them mentally? Will it give them a boost? That's going to be interesting to see.
Just clarity. All of a sudden, you wipe the slate clean and they say, okay, here we go. And those two guards have been there and done this many times before. And Draymond, by his standards, has not played very well in this series. And he needs to have a Draymond game. Again, he almost had a Jason Kidd triple-double last night of 10, 10, and 10.
He's always hovering around
right
the
around that.
triple-double.
Well, you know what, Skip Bayless? Kawhi Leonard would be, guess what? He won't have to exert so much energy trying to worry about KD. Now he can just focus on the offensive end. Watch what he give you Thursday night.
Really?
He will give you one of those Sydney Opera House performances, a virtuoso.
Really? Where in the fourth quarter he forgets the words to the song? Is that how it goes? Or how,
Yeah,
how
don't do that. There
Right?
you go. There you go. There you go.
Pavarotti goes, right? What are the
You gonna
words?
see?
I need a
Okay,
cue card.
I want you to have that energy on Friday.
I will.
On Friday,
Yep.
that's the energy that I need.
Yep.
The thing, Skip, is look, Golden State has had trouble putting together 48 minutes of really strong basketball.
They
You
have.
mentioned
I haven't seen him play a good game
Right.
yet.
You mentioned Steph going cold. He's hot in the first half. He goes cold late, and then he hits that big three. Can they put together 3 straight games? They need 2 more straight games of really good basketball, pretty much the whole 48 minutes. Can they do that? Look, I'm pulling for them. I'm sticking with my pick, +1. They do it in 7 now. But Toronto has the advantage.
And by the way,
Has anybody seen the best player on Toronto, Pascal Siakam? Because my partner Skip Bayless keeps telling me he's the best player. Have you seen him?
he
Chris?
can't touch the ball. The ball's always in the other guy's hands. The other guy shot a series high 24
Chris, I need
shots
you to go
last
home
night.
tonight. I need you to go home tonight, and I need you to pray for the safe return of Pascal Siakam because we hadn't seen him in quite a while. He might be lost.
It'll be good on
Well,
Thursday.
you need to pray for Shannon Sharpe's bet on Thursday night. Do we have a bet? Is it on?
Skip, we got Wednesday, we got Thursday. Come
You
on.
proposed
Yes,
it and I
I'm here
accepted.
Hey, Skip, I'm not going to lie. Skip, I had my best Baccarat crystal out. I had a special bottle of champagne.
I know.
I
I
was
got
getting
it.
ready to pop it. I had it all set up.
I tweeted about it. Premature celebration on the part of that man. Yep.
Well,
Then
and
let me down.
I liked your
Yeah, I
point
burned
about
the money. I burned the
intangibles of
money.
This being Oracle Swan Song,
It
and then
will
don't
be.
forget, Clay has also said they're going to do this for Kevin Durant. So we'll see if those little intangibles can add up to some extra inspiration. Chris, thanks so much for being here with us. We appreciate it as always. Coming up next, were Raptors fans way out of line last night cheering when KD went down? That's up next for discussion.
No mercy.
Kevin Durant went down in the second quarter last night with an Achilles injury. Some Raptors fans were actually cheering when KD crumpled to the floor. A few of the Raptors players tried to calm the fans down, but obviously, understandably, it upset the Warriors. Take a listen.
Jim, what do you make of the fans cheering?
That's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy. Come on, that's classless.
And some of the fans cheering when he went down?
Trashy. So trashy.
They certainly didn't mince words. Shannon, do you have a problem with the fans' reaction?
I do have a problem. I did have a problem with it. I do have a problem with it. But I don't want Draymond and Boogie Cousins to make like this is unique to Toronto. We've seen this in football. We see this all the time, Skip. When players go down for the opposing team, some of the fans, it's not all, but enough that can be heard, it starts to reverberate through the arena. This is not unique to Toronto. We've seen it in football, be it Philly, be it New York, be it New England. It doesn't matter. Sometimes fans get irrational, and they're emotional. And when they see the opposing team's best player or one of their best players go down, the natural thing like, yes, okay, good, we out of the game. Yes, he's out. That's not. I don't like it because I don't think you should never be an opposing team. I don't care. You don't cheer for someone's injury. You don't cheer at someone at their lowest moment, at their pain, at their misery, at their suffering. I get that. But Draymond and Boogie and even Clay, they make it seem like this is a unique situation that only happened in Toronto. And you and I both know that's not the case.
I hear what you just said. I agree with what you just said. But today, I'm going to give Toronto fans, Toronto basketball fans, a little bit of a break and definitely give them a pass. I do not believe, and this is hard to characterize every last soul in that arena last night, but the majority of those who clapped or cheered, I don't believe they were clapping for or cheering for Kevin's injury per se. Remember, they have no history with this team. They don't hate Kevin Durant. Right. Kevin Durant's, he hasn't even played in this series until last night, and it's not like he was even sitting on the bench because he hasn't. He hasn't even been out on the bench like if he had been trash talking, pointing fingers at the Raptors. Right. There's no history at all between these two teams. All they know is they have nothing but immense respect for the best player on the planet, who is Kevin Durant. And not only does he suddenly show up for Game 5 in their house, they're on the verge of an NBA championship, their first ever. This is it. It's going to be coronation night, as you predicted yesterday. And they're on the verge. They're on hair trigger. This is our moment. And all of a sudden, the boogeyman has come back. And they respect him. They don't hate him at all. And what does he do?
Yeah, Skip, he had 11 points in 12 minutes.
He makes his first 3 threes. It's like, what? What are you doing? So, again, their reaction is not, oh, we're so glad. We're so happy he's hurt. They're just like, oh, my God, we got a chance now. We got the heavens open.
He's out of the game.
We got an opportunity now to get back in this game. And, again, they're not wishing evil on him. I've been there with that before. I was there at the Vet in Philadelphia, Cowboys versus Eagles. Michael Irvin is prone on the turf with a spinal cord injury, and they are cheering like mad.
Paralyzed.
You know why? Because they hate the Dallas Cowboys, and they hated Michael Irvin. He's always pushing off, and he's always pointing, he's trash talking, and he's got a lot of Shannon Sharpe in him. And they despised him, so they are cheering for his spinal cord injury, and it's from the heart. That's how much they hated Dallas, or still hate Dallas, and hated Michael Irvin. But this is very different because what did they have against Kevin Durant? Nothing. So he had the one little trash talk with Drake up in the tunnel, remember that? And he called him his given name, Aubrey Graham. Aubrey Graham, we'll see you in Oakland. Remember that after Game 2, right?
Yes. And he was remember he was trash talking. He got the foul on Fred VanVleet. He was trash talking Fred VanVleet in the first quarter.
Okay, he did do that.
Like, you can't get away from me, little man.
Like nothing. I can't. That just came and went.
Yeah, but it's
no. He was laugh trash talking. Like he was just getting a kick out of it. But remember, Drake has a Kevin Durant tattoo. Okay, that just undercuts all of this. And now you look at what's going on here. Well, it took about a minute maybe. I don't know. I didn't put my stopwatch on it, but it took a minute to 2 minutes. And all of a sudden, the whole arena is chanting KD, 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 because they're rooting for his recovery. Obviously, they don't wish ill upon him.
I don't want you to be hurt, but I'm glad you out of the game.
Well, sure they are. Well, I can't condemn them for that because, again, they don't want him crippled. They don't want his Achilles torn. They just say, hey, we got a chance without you. That's just paying respect.
Skip, look here. I wasn't always one of the best players on the team. I cut my teeth coming up in the NFL and special teams. So I was a gun on punt team, and I was on the kickoff team. Let me tell you something. Eric Metcalf, some of the best returners, Rod Woodson, Tim Brown, Mel Gray. Skip, I wasn't trying to permanently hurt them, but if I could knock their ass out for the game, which was going to greatly increase the Broncos' chances of winning, don't think I didn't try and do it.
Okay.
I'm trying to win. The fans see Kevin Durant's down. That greatly increases our chance of winning this ball game. No, do I want Kevin Durant to be injured, be maimed for the rest of his life? I hate that this happened to Kevin Durant. But if this means that Kevin Durant is out of the ball game, they're probably saying, I wish it could have just been a sprained ankle and he can't return. Obviously, we believe that it's something more severe. But the Raptors fans, Skip, they're looking at it like, we Raptor fans. We want what's best for the Raptors. Kevin Durant being not on the court is what's best for the Raptors. That's best for us.
Okay.
But I'm glad that Kyle Lowry calmed it down, cooler head, because Skip, of course, when guy go down, they're like, yes, you're out of the game, you're out of the game. And a few bad apples because it wasn't a whole arena that was there. Yes, KD, we're glad you're hurt. It was a few. And it starts, the mics picks it up, and it starts to reverberate because it's just like the whole arena might not necessarily boo, but it'll pick up enough of them that you will think it's the whole arena is booing. But I'm glad that Kyle Lowry was able to calm them down, and they were able to give Kevin Durant the congratulations that he needed, like KD going off the court. But it was sad, Skip. I hurt for him because I know what it's like to be in that situation.
Oh, it's horrible. It's just horrible. It was a horrible.
Hell, the Raiders.
Yeah.
Skip, I broke my collarbone in the black hole. What the hell you think those Raider fans were doing? They're a division rival. We hate the Raiders. They hate us.
Yeah.
You say, oh, Shannon, we are so sorry you're hurt. They're like, yeah, we glad.
Huh.
They're like, break Ed McCaffrey's collarbone too while you're at it.
But you weren't carried off the field. You walked off the field, right?
I got up and walked up. I did. I got up and walked
so
up.
they probably didn't even know you were hurt because you didn't act like you were hurt.
Oh, they knew.
Right?
They knew I was hurt as a kid. They saw the way I was holding my shoulder. They knew I was hurt.
Okay.
And then I didn't come back in the game.
I'm going to give them a little bit of a break because I know there's a little bit of PC media overreaction to this, but if you put it in context, it's okay. It's not the worst thing in the history of the world.
And a classy move by Drake.
Skip, you saw the replay, Skip. You saw that thing roll up the back of his leg.
Yep.
Yes.
All right. Still talking about KD when we come back. Will he still get a huge contract this summer? Discussing that up next.
No mercy.
Last night may have been the final time we see Kevin Durant in a Warriors uniform. He'll have an MRI today. The fear, a torn Achilles. KD can become a free agent July 1st, but he could also exercise a $31 million player option and wait until 2020 to hit the free agency market. So, Shannon, give us your take. How will this injury affect KD's future?
I don't believe it impacted at all, Skip Bayless. You and I both live in the Los Angeles area, and in Malibu, there are places up there that has 2,000 square foot of old abandoned house that's going for $12, $14 million because of the property, because of what's location. I understand that Kevin Durant I believe he has a ruptured Achilles, but he's still Kevin Durant. And I believe someone will give him a max offer, even if they have to, as you mentioned earlier, shelve him for the entire season. But I tell you what, the first team that better line up and give him a max offer, better be the Golden State Warriors. Because he took a chance. See, there's a difference with playing with a hamstring, Skip. There's a difference playing with torn rib cartilage, because I played with that. The man put his career on the line for the Golden State Warriors. So they better go, whatever the max offer is, they better whisper in Kevin Durant's ear, Kevin, whatever the max is, we're going to give you $100 million more. Don't tell anybody, because this man mortgaged his career.
He did.
That's what he put on the line. So I don't think it's going to impact whether or not Kevin Durant gets a max deal, Skip. He's Kevin Durant. Now, he will be entering year 13. He almost has 1,000 games when you combine regular season and playoffs. He does have 36,000 minutes on those legs, but he's 7 foot tall, and he's as skilled a player as we've ever had in the NBA.
Best player on the planet. So here's the complication that I see. It's not Kevin Durant's complication. It's anyone else's who is thinking about going with Kevin to X, Y, or Z stops. If it's the Knicks, let's just do a hypothetical. There was all the runaway talk about Kyrie and KD going to the Knicks, or let's do the Nets, whichever one. Would Kyrie want to go for a whole year with no Kevin? Well, let's do the Knicks. And again, I don't know if they're going to trade their pick, R.J. Barrett, or are they going to try to get Anthony Davis? But the problem is, if you're going to go with Kevin, you're going to have to be the guy for a whole year, mostly without Kevin, unless he came back for the playoffs maybe, and that's probably a long shot. But the point is that, man, you got to be careful because you're going to be under the heat lamp for a year without Kevin Durant.
You're exactly right, Skip. So in other words, somebody's going to have to go to someplace, the Knicks, the Nets, get hit upside their head while Kevin Durant rehabs that
That's
Achilles.
correct.
Gentlemen, we gotta go. Good stuff today. That's it for us. We're back tomorrow at 9:30 Eastern.
No mercy.
Thanks for listening to the Undisputed Podcast. I'm Jenny Taft. Join us again at the same time tomorrow morning, 9:30 Eastern. We'll see you then.
Fox Sports. One of one.